following. And God, if they're headed down any wrong path, I pray that you will grab them, shake them, wake them up, and let them know that you are real. And that they need to be here at Haven on Wednesday nights. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So you guys give it up for the worship team. They don't have to be here. They just are. You guys can go ahead and make your way back to your seats. Play a couple games of rock, paper, scissors on the way. You know, but not any of that best of three stuff. I don't believe in that. And as you do so, you can go ahead and check out this real quick video.
It was a pretty great date, but I think I talked too much. I bet he doesn't ask me out again. He seemed really nice and fun. I'm so glad he called me. God, I'm up for whatever you have for me. I don't even know why I'm interviewing for this job. Everyone else here looks like they have it all together. I'm sure I won't get it. I can't wait to interview today. I really believe I have a lot to offer. Even if I don't get this one, I know God has a plan. What am I doing here? I don't have anything interesting to say. I just want to go home and get in my sweats. I'm really looking forward to making some new friends. Even though this is out of my comfort zone, I'm trusting God will bring something awesome out of this party. Succeeding at the big things has a lot to do with the little things. Thoughts matter. Small things, big difference.
Man, is it me? Is it just me? It might be me. Small things, big difference. How you guys doing? You guys look good tonight. You guys alive? You awake? I know we're back in school. How many of you are excited to be back in school? Hey. Oh, man, I remember those days. Waking up early just to ride the bus for an hour and a half, man, would not go back. I've done my time, served my fair share. So we got about 9 days until our new president takes office, and, mixed signals. So did you guys know that about a couple thousand people waited out in the freezing cold weather to hear President Obama's farewell speech? Now those same couple thousand have about 2 weeks to recover from pneumonia while they still have health insurance. Some of you get it, some of you won't. That's a cheesy joke. If Julia's watching, that's for you. Did you guys also hear about the new president, the White House app, where you can scan a dollar bill and supposedly like a 3D virtual thing will come up on your phone and you can take like a 3D tour? Kids said it's like amazing, innovative, it's exciting. Nicolas Cage says, it's a hidden map for unspeakable treasures. That's exactly what he said. I'm not a good Nicolas Cage. I need somebody who can do good Nicolas Cage. I can't. I'm sorry. But jokes aside, today we're continuing our small things, big difference message, and we're talking about your thoughts. So turn to your neighbor and say, you don't know my life. Now turn to your other neighbor and say, man, you thought that. Cool. So I don't have much time to speak tonight. Everybody say, aw. But it's a good thing. We got a great message planned for you guys tonight. It's going to be awesome. So if you're taking notes tonight, you're going to want to start taking these for sure. It's going to be awesome. Some of you guys are like, it's too early to be taking notes. You've only been there for like 30 seconds. Yeah, but like I said, it's a big night. Got to hurry it along. I'm going to talk like this, like Speed Racer. Anyways, write this down. It's often the small things that no one sees that result in the big things that everyone wants. It's often, it's up here. No, it's back here. It's often the small things that no one sees that result in the big things that everyone wants. So many times we get caught up looking at these movie stars, at these athletes, these guys who have it all made and all put together, right? Like they have no problems, they have no worries. They're more athletic than me, they're more smart than me, they're smarter than me, they're better looking. So naturally we just compare ourselves as humans to these guys, right? Like, man, I'm never going to be as good as those guys. And we start to get down on ourselves and start to give us our labels like, we're not good enough, we're never going to be as good as them. When in reality, these guys are like professional football players. We're like, oh, I'm not going to be as good a football player as Deshaun Watson, right? Clemson, Roll Tide. Where's my Bama fans? It's about time they lose. That's what I'm talking about. I think I was like the only one rooting for Clemson the other day. But, hey, there we go. 2 people. That's what I'm talking about. But we start comparing ourselves to these guys, and we're like, I'm never going to be as good as Steph Curry at basketball. I'm never going to be as good as Deshaun Watson at football, you know? I'm never going to be as good looking as Selena Gomez. I don't know what you guys struggle with, but what you guys don't see is that those guys actually take the time to do the small things to get the really big outcomes that everybody wants. Like, for instance, Steph Curry practices the art of basketball like every day. And yes, basketball is an art. Don't argue with me on that or I'll fight you and I'll win. Like he goes to practice every single day for a couple hours to do the small drills so that he could be a big-time basketball player and hit that pretty finger roll that God painted in heaven because it's art. You know what I mean? So all these small things that no one sees result in the big things that everyone wants. We get caught up thinking, I'm not ever going to be as good of a basketball player as them. I'm not ever going to be as smart as them. I'm not ever going to be able to have as much success based on your definition of success. I'm never going to have as much success as them. But guys, to tell you the truth, there's things that some of us can do that others can't do. I promise you, I'm never going to be able to sing as well as Bruno Mars. That's just never going to happen. But I heard a quote the other day that said, everybody is a 10 out of 10 somewhere in their life. Andrew, you saw this on Twitter, right? I was like, what? Everybody is a 10 out of 10 somewhere in life. You just have to find it, get excited about it, and be passionate about it. Let that hit home, right? Take those pictures. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know why I'm thinking about this. This is probably because of the Twitter thing. But this is just a quick side note because everybody needs to know this. I was watching the Cars 3 trailer the other day. 10 out of 10 would recommend. It's legit. And I realized that Lightning McQueen was voiced by Owen Wilson. Did anybody know that? I just thought about that because Twitter. Sorry. Actually, hold on. We could tie that in real quick. Because we're talking about thoughts today. Lightning McQueen going into those races, right? He always had the positive thoughts. He had the thoughts that he was going to win. He never had the negative thoughts thinking like, I'm going to come last. He wanted to win. Can you imagine if Lightning McQueen had gone into a race thinking, you know what? Today, I think I want to come 8th. We would have never had a 3-way tie for the Piston Cup. He did what in his cup? Anyways, let's go. All right. I don't know why I talked about cars because we were really on time crunch. I'm saying this to you guys because one of the smallest things that can have the biggest difference and the most effect on your life is your thoughts. Your own thoughts can make the world of a difference in your life, whether positive or negative. And it's your choice whether to be positive or negative about situations that you're in, positive or negative about who you are and what God's made you to be. And over D Now, how many of you guys went to D Now? D Now is amazing. There was one night that we all decided to take some time and talk about what the world and what this devil has labeled us. So if you guys want to check this video out, we had a couple girls and guys, come in, take some time, and shoot a quick video about what the world has labeled them.
I would always move a lot from Minnesota and Arizona, where I was born from Minnesota. And it was very hard for me switching schools because I would always be comfortable with all the friends I had, and then I would find out we would have to move, and it would be very hard for me. Before I met God and He saved me, I was labeled worthless, annoying, and lonely. I was labeled worthless because I never really thought people cared about me, and they would always just make fun of me, and I didn't really think I mattered in life. And my parents, it was very hard time because my parents wouldn't say I love you or anything, and none of my brothers. In middle school, I didn't have really many friends at all, if not even one or two. It was very hard for me to make friends there because people would always make fun of me and call me annoying and everything.
So my 3 labels that kind of like I felt like the devil or like just people kind of put on me was a sinner, non-forgiving, and worthless. And I felt like that because like all humans sin and everything, but it just kind of like weighted my heart down about how like, wow, you're a sinner, like you don't belong here and you're not good enough. And that kind of ties along with the worthless part about being a sinner and not being able like to just kind of be yourself and always feeling down and stuff like that. And I always used to like kind of put a label on myself about how I couldn't be forgiven for my sins, even though that's not true at all. That's just kind of how I felt like in the
I feel like the devil has labeled me shy and nervous. I think he's labeled me shy because I don't really have the confidence to go up to somebody and say, hey. I think he's labeled me nervous because, like, as you can see, I keep on saying and pausing.
So my kind of labels that the world's put on me and that Satan's given me is lazy, inconsistent, and fake. And so first off, lazy. I'm just naturally a lazy person. I'm not a very motivated person right off the bat, so it really takes a lot for me to get going and to get motivated to get into that first stage. And the other one is inconsistent, and so I feel that a lot of times I'm inconsistent because I'll have this great plan that I want to stick with, and then I think, oh, this is so awesome, this is so great. Then the next day or the next hour, I'll go mess up, and that whole plan I feel like is ruined now. And so I never feel like I can just stick to a plan and be consistent with something, whether it's spiritually or just something stupid in the world. And my last one would be fake, because that kind of ties in with inconsistent, because if I'm saying all these great things and I'm drumming on the worship team and I'm feeling these moments that on Sundays and on Wednesday nights, and then I go and mess up and I do something stupid or I don't say the right things, I feel almost fake, because here I am putting myself out as a leader on the worship team, but I can't even keep my own path and my own choices straight.
Two things that I've labeled myself is like stupid and weak. So I've labeled myself stupid because in certain situations in life, like I didn't have the answer, so I just thought I was stupid. I also feel like I'm weak because I want to be there for people, and I feel like I'll let them down and not be good enough for them.
Yeah. So a couple labels are like insecurity and like failure, and I feel like just a bunch of things have gone on, and especially like school peer pressure, and it puts those labels on you, and it makes you feel bad, and it doesn't help you in any way. And just like I'm always the one to throw on the jacket or to cover up and like not be who I am because I'm scared of what other people think of me.
A couple words I've been labeled were insecure and undesired. For insecure, I just really have not thought of myself as like, you know, the society like beautiful person, you know what I mean? And I just never felt myself to be appearance looking beautiful. But another label is undesired, and that's for because I've never really, when I was a baby, my mom and my real father, they split up, and reasons being for my father being basically not a good husband and father. And my mother married my real father that I consider now, but it's just always made me question why my real father didn't want to have to do anything with me, because I was always the one pursuing him. So it just made me feel like undesired, like he just didn't want to have to do anything with me or my brothers. So that just gave me that label. But over D now, for insecure,
Yeah, you guys can go ahead and clap for them. What's amazing about this is that all these people sitting up here, that's not me, that's not Pastor Nate, that's not your leaders. These are your peers. The people who walk through the same hallways as you, go to the same movie theaters, same restaurants, do the same thing that you do. And these labels up here are how they feel the world, the devil, and sometimes themselves have put on themselves. And each one of these are so strong, such a powerful negative word. And I know that every single person out in the audience today, leader or student, in some way can relate to one of these words up here. But you gotta think, like, how am I supposed to take these negative words and change it to a positive and lift it off my life? And the first thing that we gotta do is we need to change the way that we think. But how are we supposed to change the way that we think? We need to capture these destructive words. You guys, that's a note. You guys can write that down. You need to capture these destructive words. When we find ourselves thinking negative, destructive, worldly words, we need to capture those. And how do we do that? Paul teaches us in 2 Corinthians. He's writing to a church in Corinth about a church that was being told lies, and sadly they were believing them. He writes, I got to squat down so I don't misquote the Bible. For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. Demolish means to break down, to tear down, right? Destroy. And strongholds, if you translate it back to the Greek, which is, one of the languages the Bible was written in, it literally means, it's a akaroma, if you know what the word is, I don't know if you do. It literally means locked in prison by deception. So you're locked up by the wrong and false thoughts. And it says we're supposed to demolish those. Think about this. Like the devil, our spiritual enemy, they call him the king of what? If you know what it is, the king of what? Lies. The king of lies. His most powerful weapon is lies and deception. So what he does is he comes into our thoughts and he tells us these lies, and we start to build our foundation built upon these lies and these deceptions fed to us by the devil instead of the truth of who we really are. Because the Bible says that when we know the truth, it will set you free. It will demolish those strongholds. Paul goes on to write, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And hear this real carefully. And we take captive of every thought to make it obedient to Christ. I love this. We demolish strongholds. We tear down, we break these prisons of deception and false thoughts, and we take captive of every thought and make it obedient to Christ. So when we start thinking these thoughts like, man, you're not good enough. I'm a screw up. I'm never going to be good enough for anybody. You got to capture those. You got to take captive those thoughts and give them to God. It's kind of like this. I saw this app. You guys can judge me for knowing this app is. It's called Truth or Trash. And it's an app for little kids that is supposed to help them learn and discern what is of this world and who they really are and who the devil's telling them to be. So it'll give you an example like, you're the reason that your family's fighting. And so the kid will be like, I am not the reason that my family's fighting. I go to church every single Wednesday. Hallelujah. Swipe left, that's trash, right? You got to have a little attitude with it because it's not fun enough if you just say, you're the reason your family's fighting. Well, that's trash. I mean, I guess it's fun that way too. Or it'll say like, you're not smart enough. Like, oh, girl, you did not see the 100 I just got on my math test. Swipe left. Or it'll say something like, you are beautiful. True. Swipe right. But anyway, that's kind of what we need to do with our own lives. When these thoughts, these negative thoughts, these worldly thoughts, destructive thoughts start coming into our life, you're not good enough. You're too shy. You're a sinner. You're unvaluable. You're stupid. You're worthless. You're lazy. And you're undesired. That's trash, man. You got to swipe left on that. But the good news is that the truth is, God says you are good enough. You are desired. You are beautiful. And all these guys over D Now, we had an amazing experience, and this is the things that they wrote down that the world labeled them. But we took some time and we heard from God on what God labeled them. And we don't have much time, so we'll save the video for another time. We're not going to do that. As the worship team wants to make their way on up the stage, you guys go ahead and flip those over. These are the labels that God has put on their life. Beautiful, trusting, funny, wise, beautiful, valuable, worth it, and changed. That's worth clapping for. And so, I mean, you can go a second time. We have about 10 minutes, and what we're going to do is as this worship team comes up here and plays worship, as you feel called, and if you went to D Now, you can do this again. We'd love to have you do this again. There's these little index cards up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 index cards, and we're going to take a pen out of this bucket, and we're going to write on one of these index cards. We're going to find areas around the room. So this is a must-do, okay? You guys got it? We're going to find areas around the room, and we're going to write on it what this world has like. Yeah, you guys can go ahead and start playing a little bit behind me. My voice is annoying, I know. We're going to write what this world has labeled us on one of these. What the devil has labeled us, and what maybe even some of us have labeled ourselves. And we're going to sit there, and we're going to start to pray. And we're going to take 3 to 4 minutes and just ask God. Ask God what he's labeled us, what he calls us. And when you found out what God's called us to be, what we want you to do is take that other label that the world has labeled you and just rip it up. rip it up and just put it in this bucket because it's not who you are. All right? So if everybody wants to stand up and start making their way, grab some index cards and some pens, we're going to scatter around this room. And again, what we're doing is the first card is what the devil has labeled us, the lies that he's labeled us, the deception he's put on our lives. And the second one is going to be what God has called us and labeled us. All right.
Take our ways. You set your treasure in jars of gold. So take this heart, Lord, I'll be your vessel, the world to see your life in me. Oh, amazing grace, how sweet.
Everybody, let me have your attention really quick. Let me have your attention really quick because we have a lot of people that are kind of messing around, and we just want to be respectful during this time. I want you to understand something, and this is a big deal. This weekend, we went to D Now, and we had a retreat, and we didn't take this for granted. Our students were serious, and they didn't talk to each other. They didn't mess around, but they went back to their seats, and they spread out throughout a room just like this. And they said, God, in my weakness, who do I feel I am at my worst point? And they wrote that down. And then they said, God, who do you see me as? And they filled that out. And I think it'll blow your mind if you guys don't take this for granted and you're serious and you really allow God to speak to you. I believe, I know that each and every one of us, how many of you guys have wanted your whole life, I've wanted to hear from God. I just want to know there is a God and I want to hear from Him and I want Him to speak to me. Tonight is a night that will happen if you don't mess around and you go after God. Okay? So it's for the next 5 minutes. I'm going to ask you to be serious. Leaders, I'm going to ask you to make sure you're kind of around the room. If students are talking, you have my permission. I'm asking you leaders to please let them know, ask them to kind of separate and just kind of spread apart so that they can all focus. When you guys are done writing, if you would bring your pen quietly and just set it up on the stage, because there's a few people who didn't get theirs. Let's go back into worship, and we have 4 or 5 minutes, and we're going to just go after God tonight. Pastor Cody's going to address you real quick.
Can you? All right. I'm really loud. This just event in general has always been very powerful in my life and in so many lives I've seen. Can I have everyone's attention for real quick, just 1 second? I want you guys to know that it's not just the students that this goes on in their lives. And so I want you to know that I also struggle with the same thing. The devil has a label over my life, and that's not good enough. That's my label. My whole life I would grow up and I had a great dad who was awesome and good at things, and I always felt like I had to be just as good at him as him at certain things, and I was never going to be as good as he was. And my whole life I felt like I was disappointing him for that. And that was what the devil said about me. And then there was this song we listen to at D Now, and it's talking about finding presence, where you find joy in God's presence, where you find peace in God's presence, and where you find strength in God's presence. And when I finally found all of my strength, my joy, and my peace in God's presence, that's when God said, hey, listen, you don't have to be good enough for anybody on this earth, including your Father, because you're good enough for me. And so my new label is good enough. So if you really want to be serious and take some time about this, this can change your life forever, for the better. And you can really find out what God has to say about you. You just got to be a little bit serious and not mess around or talk. We have one bucket. I'll move that. And let's just go after God in this next worship song as hard as we can. All right?